What's up, everybody? We have a special guest today, man. Probably this is one of the most exciting podcasts that I'm probably going to do so far on Etheria. This is somebody that I actually we go back. We go back to a game some of you guys probably don't even know. Dislike, man. And that's a whole thing. But either way, I want to introduce to you guys someone that I feel like is going to be an absolute insane PvP guru. This is probably one of the most savvy players that I've been able to come across when it comes down to strategy, competitiveness, and really making sure that those fundamentals are really understood. Even with this current beta, this individual is also able to place in the top 16. I got to introduce you guys to Sterbby, man. Appreciate you for doing this with me, man. Let them know about you and all the things that you do, man.
Hey, no worries, man. Good to meet you again, Zox. It's been a long time since we last, caught up. It's years now, I think. So basically just a quick TLD on who I am. My name's Sterbby. I make mostly competitive PvP videos on Gacha games. So my first biggest Gacha game that I ever played was 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. And that was the first time that I actually, experienced what Gacha PvP is like, because that game is whale fest. Yeah.
Yep.
And so after that, when, they started, becoming really, really cash grabby, right? Netmarble, obviously. I moved to Epic 7. And that was when I started, really understanding the mechanics behind, turn-based gacha. And I stuck with E7 for almost 4.5 years because it happened right during COVID. That's when I moved into it. So I had a lot of time in my hands to just play it and got into the PvP scene, ended Legend a few times and a pretty consistent Legend player. And ever since then, that's my entire gacha life. Then I moved to Dislike, and I was, one of the early beta players, in the Honor server with Zox. And when they introduced RTA, which is the PvP, I managed to, hold first place for the longest time, at least I think for 2 seasons, right? Then that shat the bed as well. Then I moved to Elder Plane because I thought, damn, Smilegate created another, it's under Smilegate, going to be a good PvP game. And then they decided to become, a waifu collector game. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm kind of done with gacha now. And then all of a sudden, one of my guild members from, the church, right? Shout out to Install. He came up to me and he was like, have you heard of Etheria Restart? I was like, dude, what's that? It's like, that game has PvP. That's all he had to say for me to start searching up what Etheria Restart was, right? And he told me the day the beta ended on January. I was like, are you serious, dude? You could have told me earlier. Right? So I had to wait for 5 months before I could actually play this beta. And I finally got my hands onto it. And dude, can I just say, what you watch on video and what you actually experience is different. You look at the game and it's like, oh, okay, it's just, it's a Hoyo copycat. But then when you actually play and you look at the animations and the UI and everything, and you're like, oh, dude, it's actually nice. That was definitely my very first experience with it. And I was like, I was impressed. I was like, damn, it actually looked good.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I'm actually really happy to hear that, because I think a lot of players coming in, there's always different wants and needs and things that I would even say kind of hit certain preferences that each player kind of comes to the table with. And I guess I kind of gateways into the very first question, because we're going to get right into it. Mm-hmm. How was your experience this beta? What were some of the things that you really liked, and what were some of the things that you felt like could be worked on or maybe even disliked?
Okay, let me just start off and preface this so you can understand my point of view. I'm a whale. I said it. Man, I said it. Okay.
That's the best. I'm a whale too. I actually spent $5 in the beta on the start, and everybody was like, "You filthy whale." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I gotta own it." So,
but I think I had to get this out the way because my perspective of the game can be different or might be different from free to play, right?
Yeah.
But then again, I need to also emphasize it because my experience as a whale felt like I didn't even have to spend money, because I had a 98% roster. All I was missing was Lily, Celeste, and Ciada. That's all I was missing. Okay. I had every single roster under the roof. So I decided, you know what? SSR, best units, build them only. Day 2, I was in the game. Day 3, I was in the game. I was like, why the fuck can't I clear content? And then realized I didn't build Gray. I didn't build Sanya. I didn't build fucking, what's his name? Kraken. And I was like, shit, that's why. And I was like, these are free units. Why the hell are the free units better than my SSRs? And that was my very first experience. And I was like, dude, I messed up so fucking bad. I've wasted so much resources just trying to, get the SSRs to level up, spending my my stamina wrongly. And because I didn't play the beta, and I've never actually, properly played any game that, just needed to, start from scratch, quote unquote. I was just leveling up gear like no tomorrow, dude. Like I was putting my unit gears to plus 15s. I was wasting gold on that. I was reconfiguring rare shells, and I was like, why am I wasting my training data? Once I got to Fabian, and I was like, I'm out of resources. Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And so all of those stuff you can't buy. You have to farm it. You cannot buy them. Right? So pay to win really isn't really pay to win because of that, my experience going into RTA was hella rough because my resources was all over the shop. It was skewed everywhere and I had no, clear focus. And I was going against guys in PvP who have played this game for 2 to 3 betas already, have a clear goal, have a clear path. They know exactly where to go, where to farm, what to build, and go into PvP. And I'm like, I'm fighting against 3 level 50 6 stars, and I have a level 21 Tsukiyomi. I have a level 21 Rahu. Like shit, man. I'm stuck. I can't progress any further than this. So I just had to play counter drafting at that point. So there is the whole concept of this game is whale territory. In a sense, you need whales to keep the game to alive. But at the same time, if you're a free to play and you're smart with your resources, you are cooking for the next 2 weeks, which is more than enough for you to keep up with the whale, right? That is how I feel. Because a lot of free to plays were up there. I can tell you that much. A lot of free to plays knew what they were doing exactly. Like I have a guild member called Adko. I think you'll see him in all the hell difficulty.
Yeah.
But he's free to play and he's clearing hell 4 when I couldn't even clear Nightmare 1. I'm like, what? What?
That actually is the irony behind that is the first person in the last beta that was clearing hell difficulty was actually another person that was, again, and this was free to play, but it was another person that was like using a lot of the free to play options. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like, oh, he had the fully stacked, Heinrich, Messiah, Lily, Doki Doki on the team. It was like, no, there's Gray. There's like the Leon, like it's the starter stuff. And I think like even the effectiveness of that. So like, I guess that like also kind of prompts this question too. Like how did you feel with like, I would say, like, I know you mentioned, like the value you noticed, like, as you were progressing, you're like, oh man, like, yeah, let's go straight SSRs. But then you quickly notice that, wait a minute, these SRs are actually really valuable. So is that something that like you really look for when you're looking for like a competitive game, is like that balance where you can be able to pull from like different areas like that? Or do you like it to be more top end?
No, 100%. I like the idea of how, XD has created this game and kept the game relatively balanced. Of course, there's still some imbalances here and there. Like, I don't know if you guys played the Ethernet Rally, but in the Ethernet Rally, that Kururu is just overtuned to shit. Like, God damn.
Everybody, man.
Right? Okay. But nevertheless, like I go into games and I'm picking Marvel, I'm picking Kraken, right? I'm playing PvP. I'm using these SR units that you can just get quite easily and winning with it, right? I played against someone who used an RC77 and beat me. I was like, you're cringe. I actually have, my video is up. You can actually see me lose to an RC77 and I had to force ban it the next time I fought him because that guy was too much.
I kept telling everybody, I'm like, so I did my tier list recently and I put RC77 pretty high because I'm like, dude, like, are you guys not reading what he has in his kit? Like, it's like everything Kraken has, everything like Obu has. And then he can boost his own accuracy. He has like all these different things that really incorporate being able to debuff you, but being very accurate at it. And so I'm like, if you give him a little bit of speed, that's easily an opener in PvP.
That's literally what happened because my strategy when I was playing RTA was I ran my Hell kit at about 265 speed. So he was the fastest unit I could build. So that was how I was cheesing immunity, right? Against Marvels and Krakens. This RC77 outsped my Hell kit, stunned my Hell kit. And I was like, okay, this thing's just going to kill me now. The end and these things just going to kill me now. I just can't play.
See, I'm glad you said it though. Cause now people are going to be looking at RC77 like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
he's
dude,
actually kind of good.
I mean, like, you look at a rare unit getting picked and you're already sus. Something's up with this guy. This guy's cooking. But what is he cooking?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way this guy's going to be faster than my unit, right? And I was like, okay, let me just pick a speed contestant, put it there. He's going to ban it. And then I get to ban something else. So I have free reign to run about. And then this rare unit just, jumps the line and just stuns you. And I'm like, okay. And also, Adko was also one of the first people to, start playing number 41. Because if you guys don't know what number 41 does, she has a 35% third meter boost, which is higher than Chiaki.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yep,
and no one expects it. No one bans her. No one will ban her because they look at an R unit and they disrespect it. Like I would. Right? It's will mindset, right? I see SSR, I'm going to ban the SSR first, right? If I see Yogi, if I see Freya, I'm banning one of those first, or Lily. I'm never going to ban number 41. I'm never going to ban RC77. So I like how the game has, balanced the fact that, R units, SR units have a space in PvP right now.
Yeah.
And I hope they continue this trend and it's not something that's just a fad that just happens for, the first 3 to 6 months of the game. And then, you get power crap by SSR units. I hope they keep this trend because this actually means, you have a reason to build Victor. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys know, but Lily plus Victor as a combo is disgusting. That assist attack on Victor, like all of nowhere, my Tiamat just gone. And I'm like, I have 50k HP, my guy. How did I just disappear out of the face of the earth?
Yeah.
So,
so that's like, I think that's one of the things I think, a lot of players aren't looking at is even like, so for example, I have released a tier list today, right? And there's a lot of units that are tiered really, really high. But I think like what component a lot of players are missing is it's the viability and being able to build these units into teams, right? So it's like, how much utility, I would even argue, are you able to get out of these characters? And so a lot of the value from all the testing I've been able to do is really high. Like you can look at like the number 41. I was like even doing that comparison. It's like you say you take some of your rotators, Chiaki the Echo, number 41. You have Freya, you have Doki Doki. The value and like the intricacies of how they actually made each character have value. Like number 41 has the highest burst rotation push. Right. So it's really hard to be like, well, just invest in your SSR because even like in the earlier stages of the game's progression, you then have to kind of consider like even with Doki Doki later on, she's more of a ladder pusher. So she pushes units according to whoever has the lowest turn meter. Whereas like you get that raw push from number 41. And that's like super low investment. You can do that like day one, basically get you a lettuce for her and GG, you just got a 35% push. Like that's just free. So I think that like kind of gateways me into another question because I think that there was like this big emphasis on resource, like in really, I would say that the one question I want to make sure I ask everybody is about stamina. Okay. Did you feel like you had enough stamina to do everything that you needed to do? Because I think that was one thing, like a lot of players that kind of emphasized to me was, why are we being time gated? Like, how did you feel about that part too? Like, did you mind the time gated or the level gate part? And then I was even say the time gated because RTA was time gated as well. So, like, how do you feel about that experience? Like having to jump in, it's like, okay, I'm doing X thing, but I got to still wait to do this. And then the stamina. Okay.
So when I entered this beta, because because when you watched, the final preview that they did, that little talk thing, and they said that, the qualifiers was happening for the beta, I was like, okay, what are my odds here? If I were to, qualify for EWS, what are my chances doing it in the beta versus full launch? And I did the comparison there and I decided, you know what? I'm going to push for the beta qualifier because everyone will only have 10 days to play, which is basically 9 days in RTA. That means you're already gated. You already know that there is time gate to your stamina. That means there's only so much you can farm. Okay. That means it's going to be less sweaty compared to if you, let's say in a general, a PvP setup where like for E7, right? Because that's my best reference. A season's 3 months. What I used to do back in the day was I used to just farm 2.5, months in a row. I don't worry about PvP at all. And the last 2 weeks, I have all the gears. I just gear up all my units ready for PvP and I just start going in. And I think that is way more sweaty and way harder to get into top 16 than to do it in the qualifier. right? So because I had that, that notion that I was going to go into this beta playing for the qualifiers, I was in a rush, right? I did feel like I was rushing because I always had that FOMO that what if someone's doing better than me? And then I just realized that Europe gets their reset a lot earlier than us. And they were like level 50 before I was even level 48. And I was like, oh, fuck. They have Inferno now. Does that mean that they will get Swift Ray? And then when I got to 50 and then I tried to do Inferno myself, I was like, okay, this is a little bit hard now. So I don't think anyone will have the time to actually really cook and get something out of this. So I just left it. And then I realized, okay, what I need to do now is I need to consolidate my gears for the next 10 days, consolidate it and just push RTA and leave it because I farmed enough. Like this is as far as I can go. Okay. Because if I was doing L4, I could only do L4 at 1 star. So that means I was doing 5 runs at 15 minutes, a five run turn. So I wasn't getting much out of it. And if you're doing 15-minute turns for a 5 run, your max refresh is going to take you a whole day to do it. All right. That your whole day.
For sure.
Okay. So it doesn't really matter how much I farm after that. So I just used the 2x event to do as much as I could. And then I just geared up for PvP and then go. If I want to say that during the full launch, you are not going to be, that stressed in terms of, qualifying because you have 3 months in the season. I hope it's 3 months in the season. Nobody knows, right? I don't think they have actually really officially announced it yet. So if it's going to be following, the traditional route of, Summers War Epic 7 kind of thing, where it's 3 months long of a season, you're fine. Take the game nice and slow. Make sure you're up to date with your PvE and then make sure that is good. Then rotate into PvP. So I don't think that the stamina is that bad, really. Because if the first 2 weeks we can already hit level 50 and unlock Inferno, I think you're fine if you just max refresh for the first 2 weeks and then save your gems because you're already getting stamina off your check-ins from your union. You're getting a stamina pot from your dailies, right? You have enough. You can do at least 3 runs, right? 3 full 10 runs. And you can also just refresh once for 60 gems, right? And that's like what, an extra 5 runs every day. And you just save your stamina pots for the 2x events, the double drops, and you'll be fine. So it's really a matter of how you manage your resources at that point. Because don't forget that you can't buy gear, right? You can't buy gear. You can buy gear because they have that little pack where you can get the essence.
The module essence.
You can get the module essence, but that is, a weekly thing and it's not guaranteed to begin with. All right. And if you're smart about it, like what I would do is if I'm farming Doki, I'll be getting bulwark sets with that so that I'm not farming Aurora. Right. So you don't have to worry about, getting outsped because people are just going to be farming Doki and that's a set amount of time you can farm it anyway. So if you're lucky enough and you're smart enough with your investment, your resource management, you can just luck sack a whale. Because what can a whale really do here besides just summoning?
Yeah. Yeah. That was like one of the things that I was trying to explain to a lot of players too, is that like a lot of the, I guess what we would call like the free to play pain points that I think most free to play players typically have is like, which, usually is like the ability to summon. And they throw so many Animus prototypes at you that you're doing like over the course of like that week, you're doing hundreds of pulls. Like it's actually insane how many pulls you can actually do.
Oh, dude, there's so many. Like I didn't even need to buy any of that. Like I bought all the packs day one. Right? So I had enough to summon. After that, your hyperlink charters, your achievements are just, and your quest completions are just pumping you with anima prototypes. Like I was just sitting there grinding out a little bit on stream and I'm like, oh, I got a temple. And now I got a temple. Yeah. And in a day, I'm like, I just do like I just do like 5 multis. Like what? That's one day. Yeah, and then you do that over a course of a few days. If you're really smart with your resources and, you just, do your permanent summons and then, make your account figure out itself before you do your target summons, you don't even have to spend money on anything. You just wait for the next target banner to come out, the next radar banner. You'll have enough to do at least the next 5, guaranteed. The next 5 radar banners, right? You don't even have to touch it.
That's the thing that's crazy, man. It's the resource yield, which I've played. I mean, I feel like you even played a lot of turn-based games in the Gacha.
I've never seen a Gacha economy like this before. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I will 100% agree. This is the first game I've ever seen where and I always try to tell players, like, you have to compare things to day one of what that game was. So like Summoner's War year 1, day 1, no. E7 day 1, year 1, absolutely not. Like shoot, even getting MLs, like I'm pretty sure you remember that. Like getting MLs in E7 was like you were a god.
I remember because back then RB was the best DPS you could ever get. If you got Arbiter Vildred, you were living the dream then.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember everyone was just, sitting there for hours, not even playing the game, just rerolling, just so that they can luck stack an RB. That's it. And if they did not get an RB, next. Then get an RB, next. Then get an RB, next. And I was like, are we actually playing? What are we playing a simulator here? Because I knew that I knew a few people from my old guild that had like 20 emulators open. I don't know how much RAM that guy has. Like Jesus Christ, 20 fucking emulators open, and he just cloned all of them and he just started re-rolling 20 accounts until he hit RB and then he started playing. I was like, bruh, I can't do that. And this just negates all of this. That negates all of this. Like it's ridiculous. This just stops all of that.
That's one thing. Yeah, re-rolling is like this is one game where I really like. It's definitely a Prince where it's like, oh, I don't want to re-roll. But in this game, you really don't have to re-roll. Like it really is just like a conscious, like, okay, you're just doing that, and it's just because you want to.
I think it's just because you want to.
Because you have.
I think it's just because because the what you see on YouTube a lot is that people are talking about, all right, you need to get Lily and then you're golden, or you need to have Lily Heinrich and then you're golden. But like, you don't forget that your permanent summons also has a chance to drop LDs. So if you are if you're feeling a little itchy and you pull and you do a 10 pull and you get lucky and you get a Lily or Heinrich, you really need to reroll at that point because what happens if you get a dupe? We all know that dupe sucks in this game. I get mad when I pull a dupe and I pull 4 Heinriches. I couldn't pull a Lily to save my life. I got 4 Heinrich. I'm like, why the fuck do I have so many Heinrich, bro?
They want you to be they want you to have a maxed out Heinrich for your,
the last day, I was like, okay, I'm just going to slam all my gems. I'm just going to start pulling. And then I started pulling and then got an SSR on like the 20th pull, and I was like, this better not be fucking Lily because I will be so pissed if the game ends and I get my Lily. I got another Heinrich and I was like, well,
you know what?
I'm still equally mad. I'm still equally mad. At least give me like, give me something I don't have, like a Ciada or a Solence or something.
Yeah, like, and that's the crazy thing with this game, man. It's like, one pull can what the irony is that like I actually intentionally went through this beta not using any light dark SSRs, and I pulled a Lily, and everybody was like freaking out because it's like, yo, you got Lily, you win, and I'm like, nah, I don't need her. So this is like playing the game without her, and like dudes are like looking at my account like, but bro, you have Lily right there. But my whole premise with that too is that like even when you're looking at some of the roadblocks that present itself, and that's one thing I guess I want to ask you about too, like I know you're saying like you were kind of stuck at different parts of the game, like where you're watching other people farming Hell 4, right? But you're at, say, Hell 1. But then you were still able to qualify, right? Like I think that is like a really, really important note. So do you feel like that really like even mattered then to the experience? Because I think some people are looking at it like, well, I got to be at Hell 4 at this point versus I need to just kind of focus on the goal here. Like it's not really necessarily much. So like, how do you feel about like that gap that could be presented? Because I think some players are looking at that as like, well, they have these things, so now they can do this versus like, I'm all the way back here. Like, what did you feel or how did you feel about that?
Okay. The thing about PvP games, especially PvP games, is that it is very dynamic in the sense that when I was playing Epic 7, but the very first time I entered, PvP, the PvP scene, I couldn't clear Wyvern 13 to save my life. I could only do Wyvern 12. Okay. Yeah. And I was just doing Wyvern 12 non-stop until I could, and then all of a sudden I ended, champion. At that time, champion rank was like the next rank before legend, right? And I ended champion rank and I was like, how did I get here? My gear is ass. But the thing is, I think my gear is ass. There's someone there'll be someone on the ladder with even more ass gear. Let's be real here. Okay. Yeah. So you have to take the progression one step at a time. I knew that I was never going to, be a PvE sweat. Okay. My goal was as long as I can get 1 star and I can do a 5 run, I am good because that means, I can just continue, just hit the auto farm and just let it farm in the background while I, start clearing out, other things like the shells and stuff like that, which I completely neglected at the start. I completely neglected shells until I hit Fabian and then realized, oh my God, my speed is improving.
Yeah.
Because I was so focused on Doki, and I was like, I need speed gear, because speed gear is where I get speed. And I was like, that is the connotation I had from every turn-based gacha game. Little did I know that your speed is actually comes from your shells. Because without your shells, your Doki speed gear is only giving you abysmal 35% increase. And then that's where I messed up, because I just completely neglected the shells, and then I just focused on the Doki. And then I went, okay. So I just, wasted a whole day doing nothing, getting no improvements in my gears, because I just couldn't roll speed to save my life.
So, but I'm glad you brought that part up though, because that's one thing that, I think like with these types of games, so like I went and I ventured for a little bit, and I started playing things like First Descendant and Path of Exile and stuff like that. And the irony behind those games is those games actually kind of low key require you to like be a lot better at math. So understanding like what's a multiplier and what's affecting your base value. And I think that that's one of those things where it's like that emphasis where it's like, oh, go speed gear. And that was like one thing, like I even had to I made a whole video on that. It was just like, guys, listen, like this is set in stone speed. Like if you awaken for max out that shell, like say it's an epic one of the gold ones, that's guaranteed X amount of speed, right? Just from leveling it. Then you have the speed from the passive roll. And then if you look at the speed gear, like even if you're looking at Swift rate, it's 15% speed. Right. You have the Swift Rush, 35%, so it's like that number has to go towards something. Like if you have no speed, you get nothing really out of that.
Yep, exactly.
That multiplier.
Yeah.
I was
so
that's huge.
I was looking at people, and I was going into the Etheria, the AI PvP, and I was going, why is everyone else beating me? This is day 3, man. Like, how are you outspeeding me? And then I looked at their shells, and I was like, that's a B. I've never seen that B before. Where the hell did that B come from? And then I looked at it, like, oh, that's Fabian. That's the Twilight Knight. I was like, oh, okay. That's what it does. Wait, it gives 30 speed. What's mine? Oh, 11. Oh, shit. I'm losing all this. So that was where, the massive mental shift of mine happened. I was like, okay, nah. Fuck that. Focus on shelves. And then I realized, oh, dude, the way they set up the challenge, the daily challenges, it's Grim Pursuit, then Threshold. I was like, so that's why they put that there first, because you're supposed to focus on that. I was like, okay.
Yeah. So, you know what? That's a valid question. How did you feel about the games? So one thing I would say I actually kind of appreciate with this too. You went into this game blind. Like blind
I knew about the game. I watched your videos. I watched, Sion's videos. I watched everything about Etheria to try to get me ready. But if you have never touched the game before, you can never be ready until you're actually physically experiencing the game. So I went in there completely blind. Like I knew, okay, so Threshold is where you farm, your gear sets. Grim Pursuit is where you farm your shells. But then I went full on into gears because that's how I was, brought up, quote unquote. That's how I was brought up. Went straight into gears. And why am I not getting any speed, man? Like I'm only plus 40 something speed. Like, oh, this guy 110 already. Like what? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Right? And then realized it's the shelves. And I went, naruhodo. That's right. Okay.
So did you feel like the game had in place like proper parameters to be able to guide you throughout the game? Because I think that's one thing that like I've seen it from like the first day till now, and it like went from nothing to like the hyperlink charter, for example. But did you feel like it did a good job in being able to like kind of refocus you on like especially once you started kind of picking up on things like, oh wait, like that's why it's like, okay, like do you feel like it was like there, or do you feel like they need to do better at trying to help guide players into it?
I think the hyperlink charter is a good place to look at if you don't know what to do. Okay. So personally, from my experience, because I want to, we all have an ego. When you come from gacha games, you all have an ego. You're like, I want to do it this way. I do it my way, kind of thing. Right. So I decided I will just do the hyperlink charters for the rewards, but I'm going to do things my way. And I just went straight into Threshold, and I just completely ignored Grim Pursuit. Right. And I went, oh shit, I can't really do that now. I do. And then I started doing, a little bit of shells because I got stuck, quote unquote stuck, because I couldn't beat the speed anymore. Everything was outspeeding me. I was like, this Terramaton's left arm is faster than, my entire team. And like, I'm just dying. Something is not right here. Okay. So I went into shells, and then I went to Fabian. And when I went to Fabian, that was when it hit me. because I was like, oh, my speed increased dramatically. I saw a massive change in my account. I was like, I can start clearing, I started doing Nightmare 1, Nightmare 2, Nightmare 3. It started getting easy. I was like, I'm not struggling anymore, right?
Yeah.
Then you hit Nico Nana on Grim Pursuit, and then you get another boost in everything you do. And then hell becomes easy. And then hell starts getting there. So the way they made the game, it's not as intuitive as, you want to say it is. The hyperlink charter is not as good. It's not as well thought out as I would like it to be, because it doesn't gatekeep you. Like if it gatekept you, like say you have to do Grim Pursuit now or you're not progressing, that kind of thing, that would be better, because that would have told me, oh shit, I need to do Grim Pursuit. But at the same time, if they did that, I wouldn't have known that Grim Pursuit was that important. I would have just known, oh, I need to clear this to do this. Right? Yeah. So it's something where you can only listen to a podcast or, to players who have actually played the game to actually tell you, so that, you have that in the back of your mind. Because let's be real here. I'm going to say this. You're going to think you're going to do it better than me. And then you're going to hit the wall. And then you're going to be like, shit, Sterbby and Zox will run. Yeah, no, dude, I'm telling you, it's literally, and that's the irony, is that like that, it would happen just like that. Like a lot of people, oh, well, I hear you, but I'm still going to hit level 50 and I'm going to be clearing Inferno as soon as. And I'm like, guys, I'm telling you, there is currently, I tested it. There's literally 2 units, and really one that does it the most optimally, but 2 units that can just straight up have you autoing it. And even then you still need to have the corresponding speed and DPS for that to work. And that was Heinrich and Veronica for say Terramatan Inferno. Like Heinrich is easily one of the best buff strippers, just period for that, right? And it's just not because he's the only unit that can buff strip, but it's how he does it. It's in every ability he does. So I was telling everyone, I'm like, dude, you're going to go into there, and if you think you're just going to waltz in there and you got your outstanding gear on, you are going to get clapped. You're just going to get deleted, actually. And so more and more people coming back, dude, I didn't realize it was that hard. Even going into hell, a lot of players are like, dude, what is this difficulty spike? And I'm like, it's because you don't have, and even just on the topic of the Grim Pursuit, I was showing players, even when you go into hell mode, how those epic pets are still there, right? And if you look at say Twilight Knight, for example, who's a direct replacement for that pet? There isn't one until you have enough DPS and you have a good setup for say a defense break. But that Twilight Knight, being able to replace that 60% defense break is that's a night and day of whether or not you can clear something versus not clear something. So I think a lot of it is really that application part versus on paper, right? Because on paper, White Fang is easy go-to for my DPS. I should scale up to that right away. But when you actually apply it, it's you take away that 60% defense break. Now you're wait, why am I not killing the arm anymore? It's those little things matter. So yeah, I really will say that a lot of it is that. And I feel because of your experience, being able to go through it, I feel that's actually one of the biggest takeaways that I'm kind of finding is okay, guys, listen, it's not just me saying it. You're hearing somebody that went in, tried it for the first time, and is oh yeah, I needed to actually do these things. Dude, the difference here is that I went into this game going in for PvP, and me losing one day made a massive difference, because I'm playing against people who have played the beta 2 to 3 times. They know exactly what they're doing, and I did not. Yep. I'm just waltzing in there, doing whatever the fuck I want, and messing up big time and going, I don't have enough stats anymore, and I don't have any resources to help me in that sense anymore. So knowing that, I'm way more prepared for the full launch, because I've made all the mistakes in beta. Okay. Going into full launch, I know exactly what I need to do. I know exactly what not to do, which is to go straight into Doki, because I'm gonna be real with you. If you don't have the DPS to fight Doki, you're wasting your time, because that speed set is not going to help you. You don't need the speed if you're not chasing for PvP in the first place. And you have 2.5 months to do that. So you're going to get to Doki anyway. Focus on your shells. Focus on Terramaton. I'm not even going to lie to you, because I don't know if you've noticed this, Zox, but Terramaton, every time you kill it, it gives you 1,000 XP on your character. If you kill Doki, you only get 600. Or 350 sometimes. See, listen, you're teaching me something. I didn't even notice I noticed this because I was doing a Terramaton because of the charter, the hyperlink charter. And I was like, okay, I need to clear it 10 times, right? But I had an auto farm going for for Nico Nana. So I was like, I'll just do this manually. So I just sat there and I just manual it while I was watching, something. And then I was looking at my diner, just going level 8, level 9, level 10, level 11. I was like, what the fuck? What's happening here? So I started paying attention. I was like, 1,000 XP, 1,000 XP, 1,000 XP. I was like, interesting. So I go back into the shelves and I look at my Marvel, who is like level 18 in Nico Nana farming. And I look at it. It's still level 18 after a 10 run. I was like, okay, let me look at one run on Nico Nana. I'm getting 350 XP. I'm like, oh, what is this discrepancy going on here? Hey, yo. Yeah. Does that mean that I don't have to farm investigation? I just need to get my Terramaton team to a 4-man and then just bring in a sub unit to just farm XP?
Dude, yeah, you're on a whole nother level of thinking. See, this is what I was excited for, getting to that part, right? Because these are strategies that will present themselves. You're now starting to talk about being able to double dip now. You're trying to farm.
I'm talking health level 3, by the way. I'm talking health 3.
And that was health 3, right?
I'm talking health 3 Terramaton. It was dropping me 1,000 XP. I haven't tested health 2. I can't test it anymore. But I'm pretty sure as long as it's in Terramaton, you're going to get 1,000 XP. I don't know if that's a bug because Doki doesn't drop the same experience, the same XP points.
Yeah.
Aurora definitely does not drop that because that thing already takes you like 3 minutes to clear to begin with. So it's not worth your risk reward ratio, right? It's negative EV. So doing Terramaton, focusing on getting your DPS gear so that your DPS can actually push. Because fun fact, speed is in your shelves. It's not in your gear. So you get the DPS up right. And then you go into Doki and you're clearing Doki fast. You're getting speed gear anyway. And you're probably going to be doing health 4 pretty quickly. And that's what I learned. Getting the speed set early does not do you squat. Okay.
But you know what though? That goes into even fundamentally now, and I mean, like you just taught me, because even in my run that I just recently did, my Terramaton clean was smoking the game. Like I was going through that like super easy. But the irony behind that is they don't give you necessarily a top unit for Doki Doki. They give you one for Terramaton. And they specifically give you 2 units that actually, and I would even say 3 because I mean, Gray kind of has like multi-usage. He can use the Doki Doki technically, but he's really still there for that defense break. But when you really think about it, they give you a sustain. They give you Dorothy, which, I mean, if you scale her up enough, she can work. And then you also have Leon. But then they also give you Chalky, right? And Chalky specifically is a turn meter pushback unit, but he also can reduce cooldown. And a lot of people like I noticed would just throw him to the side. And I was like thinking, well, is this maybe our fault? Like, and I'm talking about like others. It's like, cause like I would like jump into like using certain things because I knew what I wanted to use, but it was like kind of like making it almost seem like it was devaluing certain characters, which in reality, like we mentioned before, there's R units that have immense value and he's a red attribute unit. So it's like for that Terramaton push and like what you're saying is like that DPS focus so that you get, which makes sense. It's like having enough DPS to do the Doki Doki at the end of the day is more important because the speed, if you're just going speed gear, but then your pets are also trash, which in reality, you still need damage gear to go and do things like the Grim Pursuit. Because you want to be killing that fast enough. Mm-hmm. It's like you're now almost shifting the preference of like how you can even approach the game at that point too. It's like, based off of what you might have picked.
Yeah. Like, so like the whole reason investigation and GP outpost is far at the back is because you don't have to focus on that. The game is just going to give it to you in hyperlink charters and in Terramaton, right? So there is absolutely no reason to farm that except for the double drop because that is fast and you get to burn all your stamina pots and you get a shitload of coins. That's the only reason you want to do it. You get a shit.
And you know what? That makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because I think like that's even like the thing too. Is like, dude, yeah, dude, listen, this is like, listen, guys, I'm telling you right now, you guys have to make sure you guys go over and subscribe to Sterbby. We're actually going to, and I'm going to ask one more question. We're going to actually be gatewaying into a part 2 because in the second part, I actually want to take the time to dive more deep into the PvP portion, which is something that he actually really specializes in. So if you guys want to see that, make sure you guys go over there. But yeah, real quick, the last question I actually want to ask you, before we get into part 2, is actually, what unit so far that you had in your progression did you feel like was the most impactful to your account?
Marvel.
Dang.
Dude, you can take Marvel into everything. You can take Marvel into, let's start with Grim Pursuit. You can take him to Nico Nana. Nico Nana's never going to get a turn. You can take him into Sharon. Sharon's never going to take a turn. You can take it into Hoyan. Hoyan's never going to take a turn. You can take it into Terramathon. Terramathon's never going to take a turn. He can be used everywhere. You can take him into the Infinity Train. And he just, he will just push waves back and your DPS is always safe, right? And you pair that with Kraken, push back into a deep freeze is ridiculous. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Marvel is such a good PvE unit. If you guys come from this light, and Zox will know this, he's a Pritzker. He's Pritzker.
Oh God. Yeah.
Do you realize this?
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Take away the stun from his S3, take away the stun from the S3 and put it to be push back, speed down, reduce. And then his S might just turn me to push back, which is what Pritzker does already to begin with.
Yeah, and you're right. He had a whole RTA season dedicated to him because he was so OP.
Yeah.
Like, no, for real. Yeah.
So, Marvel is very, very good early game in PvP. The late game, his stonks will go down the fucking drain very quickly because of immunity set and bulwark, but he becomes relegated into the king of PvE. Because he just clears PvE for you. He just pushes everything back so that your entire team can move, set up, and then he'll just keep pushing back. So, yeah. And he rotates so fast because you make him fast to begin with. And if you put him with that black flag and there's a mythic version of it where it gives speed up on top of that, that dude's zooming, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's the last question then. Like, so do you feel like they're gonna keep him how he is?
I think he's fine the way he is. I honestly think he's fine. Okay. I think he's fine in the way he is. Because you have to remember the landscape of PvE and PvP. In order to get through PvP, you have to do PvE. All right. Even I hate to admit that, all right? Because I hate PvE. I only do PvE so that it can facilitate PvP. But in PvP, Marvel is not an issue. Not in the late game. Maybe in the early game when you're talking about, no one having bulwarks, that's when Marvel gets really oppressive. Okay. But once, you unlock Aurora and then you're starting to farm your bulwark sets, and then people who, still think they can cheese him with Marvel go into a whole team of bulwark and they're like, I just brought a dead unit.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're going to always make him the fastest unit, right? So he's going to be useless. So he has to rotate the whole turn. And by the time he comes back to his turn, he's probably dead because he's so squishy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it doesn't matter whether, Marvel is too OP or not. I think he is perfect for PvE, especially if you're trying to boss content, right? Imagine fighting against, Rengokutsu where you have to keep pushing him back so that he doesn't take a turn. And the only time he'll ever take a turn is when, he changes his element. I think that's fine. I think that's fine. Marvel is okay the way he is. I don't think you need to change him. He's not
No, honestly, I honestly don't mind though. I think that's actually a really big thing too is, I guess like that extra utility more so in PvP, I guess is really like the big thing. Cause I feel like in PvE, I will say I hate when things get nerfed for PvE because it's like, well, we're kind of struggling. So it's like now, like but I feel like in PvP, that's like one of the big areas, but you make a really good point. And that was kind of the point that I was making was that it's like a lot of things are countered in this game. Like even, turn meter pushback in the last CBT wasn't even actually meta. It was actually, more bruiser. It was like the tank down, damage reduction, and immunity. Like I got destroyed by a dude that had, a whole team of Alicorn. as his pet. He just purified everything. And I was just like, okay, so that like shut down CC, and that would be a direct counter to things like Kraken, for example, or even like Oval. So it's like those things I think is like, like what you said is kind of like you have to do the PvE to facilitate PvP. And then ultimately you'll get to the point where you're actually able to actually do the things that you want to, like being able to farm the counter measure gears, basically. So yeah, man. I mean, listen, guys, we're going to actually shift over into part 2 because we're going to dive a lot more into the PvP portion. Once again, though, shout out to Sterbby, man, for taking the time out of his day to actually sit and do this. Again, this is like this exciting conversation is going to be going over onto his channel, though, for this next part. So make sure you guys please go and subscribe to his channel. I'm gonna let him end this part off if there's anything he wants to say before we end this first part.
No, thank you, Zox, for doing this podcast. I've been dying to if out and just chill out with you for a while now, and it finally happened. And it's great that we're finally meeting in another game that we're both passionate about. But if you guys are at Zox's channel and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Okay. Number one. Number two, come over to my channel, right? If you want to see more competitive stuff, right? Because that's what I'll be talking about, because that's what I'm most passionate about. And that's what I'll be diving a lot of time into. And, join our Discords, come chat with us, come hang. Yeah. But that's about it, guys.
All right, guys. So yeah, guys, we'll catch you over on part 2. Appreciate all you guys for watching. Stay blessed. We'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, guys.